What's up, guys? Ricky here. Do you love Most Valuable Podcasts? And are you like myself where things that you like, you just have to let people know because they've got to be on your t-shirt at all times? If you do, you're in luck because we got Most Valuable Podcast t-shirts. You've probably seen myself, Dave, Mark, Sean, Brandon. You might have seen us wearing these t-shirts in videos. The good thing is now you can get your hands on one too. How do you do so? First off, send us an email, mostvaluablepodcast@gmail.com. Give us your name, your size, your address. We will then send you an invoice through Square. That's how you'll pay for it, $22 per shirt. And then after we get the money, we will send you a great Most Valuable Podcast t-shirt for you to wear so you can tell everybody that you love listening to Most Valuable Podcast. So go check it out. The directions are also in the description. What are you waiting for? We got the shirts just for you. But Brandon, let's move on into our next topic. And hey, YouTube guys, you can see us again. I mean, for you guys watching in segments, you're probably like, what are you talking about? But if you're watching full podcast on YouTube, we're back. The logo's not there. We're back doing the second segment. We're going 6 through 15. Brandon, let's start with number 15 for yours. Take us through your 6 through 15, starting at number 15.
All right, at 15, I've got Troy Brown, forward from Oregon. At 14, I've got Robert Williams, forward/center from Texas A&M. At 13, I've got Kyrie Thomas, guard from Creighton. I've got Lonnie Walker, guard from Miami. At 12, at 11, I've got Wendell Carter Jr., forward/center from the Dukies. At 10, I've got Mikal Bridges, guard from Villanova. At 9, I've got Kevin Knox, forward, Kentucky. At 8, Jaren Jackson Jr., forward from Michigan State. At 7, I've got Colin Sexton, guard from Alabama. And at 6, I've got Trae Young, guard from Oklahoma.
And let's just get right into mine. We're going to start a little bit with that Trae Young because we just talked about Colin Sexton, but let me go through mine first. At number 15, I've got Daniel Gafford, the center from the Arkansas Razorbacks. Then at number 14, Robert Williams, the 4-5 from the Texas A&M Aggies. Number 13, Troy Brown, the forward from the Quack Oregon Ducks. At number 12, same guy Brandon had, Lonnie Walker, the guard from Miami, Florida. At number 11, the same guy Brandon had, Wendell Carter Jr., the 4-5 from the Duke Blue Devils. Number 10, again, oh, no, you changed it. I thought we had the same one, but Jaren Jackson Jr., forward from MSU at 10. Then at number 9, Kevin Knox, the forward from the Kentucky Wildcats. Number 8, Marvin Bagley III, the forward center from Duke. Number 7, Mikal Bridges, the guard from Villanova. And then rounding out this segment of the podcast, number 6, we just talked about him in the first segment, Miles Bridges, the forward from Michigan State. And the first guy I want to go into, we kind of mentioned him a little bit in the first segment because we were talking about Colin Sexton. Let's talk about Trae Young a little bit. You've got him at 6, obviously because he was not in last segment and this segment. He's in my top 5. That's process of elimination. Take me through the process that you have Trae Young outside the top 5, but still ahead of Colin Sexton. Take me through your thought process a little bit.
Well, so outside the top 5, because I think that there's enough in the side of when we've seen Trae Young at his best, it's like, whoa, watch out. This guy's really, really good. But when we've seen him at his worst, it's like, okay, this guy, would struggle against some high schoolers. And maybe that's a bit dramatic, and it probably is. But when he's good, he's good. When he's bad, he's bad. And that's why his really good and his really bad put him right outside of the top 5.
It's a little yin and yang with him.
A little bit. And that's, I think, what has been all season long for Trae Young. So as good of an offensive team that he has made Oklahoma this season, Oklahoma has lived and died, not by the 3, they've lived and died by Trae Young. If Trae Young plays well, Oklahoma usually seems to play well and win. If Trae Young does poorly, Oklahoma tanks. They will really struggle. But even in the games where Trae Young put up a lot of points, that did not mean that Trae Young played well. When you put up 38 points off of 36 shots, that's not good. But it looks good for if you're only talking point totals. He cannot continue to shoot like that, but he won't. He will not shoot that much come NBA because he won't be asked to. He won't have to do that. And if he's lucky, he won't probably be lucky like this, but if he's lucky enough to go to a team that's like a Golden State Warriors where, and I'm not saying he's going to Golden State because that's not going to happen, but a team that's kind of set up where you've got your Klay Thompson, you've got your Kevin Durant, you've got your Steph Curry. You already have a lot of pieces in place, and you're just going to come in and slide in, not into a secondary role, but you're going to come in, you're going to play your role, you're going to know it, but you're not going to be leaned on to be everything for the team, which is exactly what he is right now with Oklahoma. Well, and that's why I think that he's good, and he's such a playmaker. He's such an explosive player when he is on. And I think we're going to see more of that in the NBA because he'll be on more often because there's not going to be such a load on him. And that's where I'm looking. I'm looking to where he will be and putting him in this spot.
Well, and that's why
that's what I'm thinking about. And Colin Sexton, as much as I think Colin Sexton is a really good player, Trae Young brings more spark and more livelihood. As more efficient as Colin Sexton, I think, is, Trae Young brings more excitement.
Well, and one of the things I want to throw out, referencing back to the fast break with the mock draft that we recently did, all three of us, Sean, Dave, and myself, all had Trae Young going to the Orlando Magic at number 5 when that's how the draft order sat out that night. And with that one, that'd be a team. They've got Aaron Gordon. They've got Vucevic. They've got Evan Fournier. They wouldn't have to lean just on him. And that's the biggest problem. And that's why in the last segment I kind of asked that about Colin Sexton compared to Trae Young, because I don't think, like I said, I don't think we talked about that when we had our Sexton-Young discussion of, like, my first go-to, maybe it's my defense mechanism when it comes to Trae Young, because I'll be honest, I'm a Trae Young fan. I like Trae Young. When he's at his best, he's he's electrifying, he's high-flying, he's a PTP or a primetime player. That's what I get up for. That's what I get excited about. Dickie V would even get excited for that. I think he has this season. But I think because of that, maybe a little bit, it's easy to defend like they just shut him down and he doesn't have a team around him. That's why I asked the question with Colin Sexton. Well, does he really have a better team around him than Trae Young? In the NBA, if Trae Young at first isn't looked at as like the main focal point and like, without you, we live or die, he'll be fine. He will be absolutely fine. Everything that I see on the court from him, that's what I want in today's point guard in the NBA. A guy who can shoot from range, a guy who can facilitate no matter whether it's driving to the basket or not, even with the ridiculous passes that he sometimes has, like the one I like to mention where drives all the way around the baseline, throws it like this, back of his head, not even looking, finds his power forward right there under the basket for the easy bucket.
Trae Young, as it has been put, is a great blend of shooting, playmaking, and energy. Obviously, we know he's a great shooter, but his playmaking ability to create plays off the dribble, to find guys, mid-dribble, driving to the hoop, planning on shooting it, and like you said, just dishes it right off. To know that, to have that court awareness, that's a huge thing. That's something that at the next level they're going to be looking for. They're going to be looking for him to make many of those plays. And then his energy. He does bring a ton of energy with him. When you're shooting threes like that and you're making threes like that a lot of the time, that's going to get you energized, and then you get everyone else up. And to be able to then feed off of the fans, feed off of your teammates, and Trae Young does that, and he's brought that a lot for Oklahoma this season, which makes him a very exciting and fun player to watch. He really is a perfect mix and blend of those three things, of shooting, of playmaking, and of energy. and certainly you can put energy / excitement there, because that's exactly what he's brought. But I will say, if Trae Young ends up on a team where he has to be the focal point, he will not survive.
No, he
will
won't.
not.
And that's the thing. Like I was just reading some of the weaknesses that NBA Draft Net has about him, and it's funny. I chuckled in my head because I see like, oh, he's undersized. He's going to have a hard time finishing at the rim at the next level. What was another one that they mentioned that made me laugh? Because everyone I look, oh yeah, he's going to be off. Although he is good offensively, he is a near liability on defense. Somebody that opposing teams are going to attack when they're on offense. And I'm reading these things, and the more I read them, the more I go, yeah, that's all the negatives we said about Steph Curry, and look at what he's doing. Now, I'm not saying that Trae Young next Steph Curry. I've been on that boat. I've said that we got to wait and see how he progresses. Let's not crown his ass, kind of a thing. However, it's funny when I see stuff like that, and it's like negative, 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 but it can work at the next level. And the thing that I think of, and this is kind of me going into the crafting situation, with how many picks they had, it would actually be a good situation for both the team and Trae Young. Right now, as we're recording this, the Atlanta Hawks sit at number 5, where all three, Sean, Dave, and myself, had Trae Young going. Take Trae Young in the top 5. Then, I mean, he would have to fall a little bit. Actually, no. The way Tankathon has it here, Kyrie Thomas, they have him at 28. Atlanta picks up a Kyrie Thomas at 23. There you go. Our offensive stud at the 1. Our defensive shutdown at the 2. We have our version of what we're going to go with Clay and Steph. Like, it all depends on what team he's on, what players you put around him. He's not going to be the focal point if he's going to succeed. One guy I do want to mention, though, and I want to move into, guy that I had a little lower, and I'm starting to lose a little hype on him as we move closer and closer to the end of the season. You obviously have him in your top 5 because you haven't said his name to this point, but I've got Marvin Bagley at 8, outside of my top 5. And with Marvin Bagley, the thing I want to ask you is, do you think, because of we've compared him to, or kind of versed him to DeAndre Ayton, because of what we've seen from Mo Bamba, although he's been hurt as of late, the kind of hype we're seeing from Mo Bamba, I know Sean has bitten in on that hype full steam ahead. That choo-choo train is going chugga, chugga, choo-choo all the way into the NFL draft. What are your thoughts on Marvin Bagley? You have him in the top 5. I got him at number 8.
Well, I think that there's really not been anything to have me put Marvin Bagley outside of the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, outside of, he had a time where he was injured and, with his knee, and you question that, and it's one of, and I don't want it to be one of those things, but I feel like whenever a guy gets injured and he's not out for just one game, he's out for multiple games, you go, and it's a knee, you're kind of wondering,
and you don't mess around,
man?
You don't mess around with that knee.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, just ask Greg Oden.
It's one of those things where you really want to make sure that he's good, and there really is no serious issue, and there's no lingering effects of anything, because the worst thing is a lingering knee issue, or just a really lingering injury in general, with knee, ankle, back, whatever it is. But he really hasn't done anything to, in my opinion, for me to put him outside of the top 5. I mean, the guy's averaging a double-double. He's been consistently solid for Duke. You take him away, and Duke is very inconsistent, because if you're just then looking at Grayson Allen, what Grayson Allen's able to do, and I mean, even with some of the other guys that are around him, they're not as good as what Marvin Bagley has been. They're certainly, I mean, and they're able to feed off of what Marvin Bagley is able to do, and again, Marvin Bagley is, I mean, it's obviously he's the right size, he's lanky, he's the right type of build. I think that he very much will be a good NBA player at the next level, but I think that, a lot of people, I don't really know why a lot of people have started to come off of Marvin Bagley. You know, there's always going to be things that a player can do better. And again, as a scout, your job is to find things wrong, I think. That's probably part of your job. What can I find wrong here? Because if I no longer can find anything wrong, then we're set, and this is a player to go after. But I wouldn't say that, Mo Bamba, he's a good player. DeAndre Ayton, a good player. But I don't think that any one of them I would be, whoa, they're so much better than this other guy. No, and we have no idea. All three of these big guys could all be busts.
They could.
I mean, literally, they could. I don't think that's going to happen, but they could. They could all end up getting in there and just being huge flops, and everyone goes, well, hopefully there's some good ones next year, and we move along.
And I know this name I'm going to throw out there, it's only been 1 year, so don't kind of jump on me right away, but just look at this year with Markelle Fultz. How excited were people? Oh, he got drafted by the 76ers. This is great. And look at what he's been this year. That's 1 year. Greg Oden, like I mentioned, how many people thought that he was going to have the issues that he had? The knee injury, I will say, whenever it's the knee and whenever it's a big man, I kind of go, all right, let's put a question there. Let's keep an eye on it.
And we had to with Bagley a little bit because he wasn't coming back.
Yeah.
And he wasn't coming back.
Well,
and now he's back, but it's one of those things where you're like I said when I first started talking about him, you have to be a little bit concerned when there's an injury that's holding out a guy for more than one game.
Well, and my big kind of worry with Bagley, because when I'm kind of talking you guys through what I was thinking about with the big board, I knew right away that when it came to the bigs, although I know Bagley's probably going to be a power forward in the NBA, not a center, when it came to the bigs, I knew that Ayton was going to be my one, Bamba was going to be my second big off the board, and then it was a question for me of who's the third. Jaren Jackson Jr., Marvin Bagley. Obviously, I sat with Marvin Bagley, so that was the first discussion I had in my head. Second discussion I had is, all right, where does he go? All right, this guy's there, that guy's there, but then even in this range, all right, I'm going to put Miles Bridges at 6. I kind of like Mikal Bridges above him, and then I really had a thought of between 8 and 9. Do I put Kevin Knox in front of him? Do I leave Marvin Bagley where he is at 8? Eventually, I settled on leaving him at 8, but it was more of a where he is on the rankings of what guys do I like better than him. And the big reason why I think that is you look at most of the guys above him in no particular order. You got Michael Porter Jr., you've got Mo Bamba, you've got Trae Young, you've got Doncic, you've got Ayton, Bridges, Miles Bridges, Mikal Bridges. All of those 7 guys, I know what they are going to be. Like, I like what they bring to the table. Bridges is the only one that I'm going to put the question mark by. But everyone except for Miles Bridges, I know what they're going to be at the next level. Mikal Bridges is kind of like the same thing we talked about with Kyrie Thomas. Has the offense, great defensively, can be like that at the 2, can be a role like a Klay Thompson-like role for a team that drafts him. We know what Trae Young's going to be. We know what Doncic is going to be. Bamba, Ayton, Michael Porter Jr. With Bagley, I know what role in here I think he's going to be. I think he's going to be a 4 in the NBA. But how is he going to transition from I dominate in college to not dominating in the NBA? Because although he does have the size and the frame, wingspan's a little smaller, I don't think it's going to be as easy of a road in the NBA as it is in college. Like, I use the Texas game as example. Mo Bamba's out there. All right, Marvin Bagley has to work a little bit. As soon as Bamba goes off the floor, free reign for Marvin Bagley. It ain't going to be like that in the NBA. They're a bigger, stronger beast when you get to the pro game compared to the college game. And actually looking at it, I actually like the pro comparison that I see right here in front of me from, yet again, NBADraft.net. I'm using them again. Chris Bosh. If he could be a Chris Bosh player of like, I'm going to be that stretch four, and hey, I can handle the ball to drive into the basket. I can be under the basket to put it in, but I can even stretch out and shoot a longer jumper, shoot a three-pointer. That would be beneficial. I just don't see that from him. Like, it's a lot of, with Bagley, it's not of what you're getting right now. It's looking into that glass and going, what can I, it's like, the best way I'm going to put it is, you're not looking at Marvin Bagley like this masterpiece of art on the wall to where it's already finished, you know what you're getting. You're looking at him as that mound of clay. And you're going, what can my coaching staff shape him into? That's the difference between him compared to like a DeAndre Ayton and even maybe a Mo Bamba.
Yeah, there's plenty of room to grow for Marvin Bagley. As you know, some have said, his jump shot can be flat at times. His defense has, can grow, and he's got room to grow there. He certainly is not a finished product, and that's almost exciting because
you get to see him grow.
Where the fact of where he is right now, which already is pretty good. I mean, he's a solid player. Again, like I said, you take him away from Duke, and they're not the same team. But knowing that he can get better, he can get stronger, he can and will be more physical, I think that's got to be something exciting for a team, knowing what they have right now, which already is a good product, but what could be a great product once their coaches, their staff is working with them, and they're seeing him grow into what will be I think, a good NBA player.
One thing I want to bring in, this will be the last guy we look at, kind of moving over from Bagley to a guy that, yet again, I said I had a little bit of a discussion of which one was going to be 3 and 4 on my big man rankings. What do you think of Jaren Jackson? To me, it's been split. I'm not high on Jaren Jackson. However, you ask a guy like Dave how high he is on Jaren Jackson, he's really high. Thinks he's a top 5 pick, 3 pick in the NBA draft.
Wow, that's really way up there. So
Dave had him at 3 to the Mavericks in our last mock draft.
Well, Jaren Jackson has made some good strides throughout the season, and he's gotten better. And he's certainly one of the best, I think, shot blockers in all of college basketball. He's got a nice touch with his shot. He's able to play really strong defense. He's a solid all-around player. Now, do I think that there's better guys out there? Yes, but I do think that he's probably one of the top guys that you talk about. I mean, if you're talking about the top 5 centers or forward/centers, he's probably making the list. But is he the number 1? Is he the number 2? I don't think so. But he's good. He's really good. And I mean, I could see why Dave puts him there. A big guy who's got a nice shot, good defense. I get it, but I still think that it's going to be somebody else. But he's certainly in the conversation. And like I said, he's grown throughout the season. Where he started at the beginning of the season is certainly not the player that he is now. He's better.
The thing that when it comes to Jaren Jackson, the reason why I had to put him under Bagley and really couldn't put him much higher than I did it, I've got him at 9 just to double check. No, 10. I have Kevin Knox in between him and Bagley. The thing that I look at with Jaren Jackson is he's got some tools and he checks some boxes. Like the whole thing that we're going to get into, of course, when we do the NFL big board is the whole thing I heard through Combine Weekend. It's just checking boxes. All right, just checking boxes. Got to check the boxes. Got to check the box. Did you check the boxes? Check the boxes. I could probably tally 1 million tallies around this room when how many times I heard the phrase check the boxes or checking boxes or something about boxes being checked. I don't know where the boxes are. I don't know why they're not checked, but we got to check those boxes. Point is, Jaren Jackson does that. However, he's not quite great in like 1 or 2 areas. It's like, oh, he's got the speed to be a rim protector. Yeah, but he's not a physical guy and he shies away from physical contact. Okay. Oh, but he's really good from like his length to help him finish. Yet again, shies away from contact. Oh, but like I said, he's good at he's a rim protector with speed. Yeah, but his fundamentals aren't there. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, he's got the potential to be like, the mold is there. Like, it's there. It's just like, I got to take the puzzle pieces. Like, I dump the puzzle pieces onto the table. The picture's there. But me as an NBA coach, I got to make the picture. I got to go ahead and put the pieces together into one to make you better. And this is a prime example of, I want to ask you, could this be a Miles Bridges situation of, I'm not saying he's going to stay, but right now, people high on Jaren Jackson, let's say he did stay for another year and we had a second year of film on him, would we look at him like a Miles Bridges where it's like, maybe we thought, maybe we were putting the carriage in front of the horse last year. And it's not just because he's a Michigan State guy.
The fact that if a player, obviously he's a freshman this year.
Only 1 year of film.
If he stays, or if
I don't think he is, but
Ayton stays, or if Bamba stays, or if any player with a name stays, they will find more things about them, good and bad. That's what we're finding with Miles Bridges. That's just what's going to happen. If Miles Bridges would have come out last year,
would have been a top 10 pick.
Would have been a top 10 pick. Would we have maybe found some of these things out once he's in the NBA? Sure, but at that point, he's getting paid.
He would have, got paid.
That's going to happen to anybody. Anybody. Anybody stays, there's always the risk. That's why guys, they want to come out as quickly as they possibly can, especially when people are talking really highly about them, because not that they think, oh, I've got this hidden bad thing about me, this negative about me to my game that I know that they'll find. It's not happening. But they know what scouts do, and scouts will find something. They will nitpick as they're supposed to do. But that's going to happen to anybody. It doesn't matter what your name is, who you are, whatever. They'll find something. They will find something. You could go back to Michael Jordan. They'd find something.
No, they would.
He did not stick his tongue out of the right side of his mouth when he was dribbling the basketball down the floor. They will find something. So I think that the longer you stay, the more you'll be scrutinized, and obviously the less time you spend in college, the less they're able to look at you, and the quicker they need to make a decision on whether or not you're going to be good in 5 years.
So let me ask you this. If we're looking at Jaren Jackson right now, how do you think, first off, I'm trying to look at, remind me again where you had him, because I just closed the tab on our big board.
Let me see. I had Jaren Jackson at 8.
At 8. You had Jackson at 8. I had Bagley at 8. To end the segment, I'm going to ask you a really quick rapid fire for only you. Give me a prediction years down the line. Who's going to be a better pro in the NBA, you think, Jaren Jackson or Marvin Bagley? Like 5 years down the line. If they're both drafted this year in the NBA draft. Look into that crystal ball for me, B.
Let's see. That's really tough. I really hate it when you give me questions like this, and I say it all the time.
I saw the look on your face, and I'm like, I did it again?
You always do it. I hate it. I'm going to start doing that to you. I can't with complete certainty say, but I'm going to say I hate you so much. I'm gonna go with Bagley.
That's who I was gonna go with.
I'm gonna go with Bagley and say that it's gonna be him. What I was doing is I was looking at Jaren Jackson and Bagley, and I was looking at their numbers against each other in terms of their height, their weight. They're both 6'11". They're 5 pounds off. I go with Bagley because I think that there's more potential with Bagley. Because, again, what we're seeing right now, I think Bagley's better than Jackson right now. And I think there's far more potential with Bagley if he gets there. Now, again, it's got to be if he gets there. But I think I'm looking at my crystal ball, which doesn't always work. I'm going to go with Bagley for 5 years down the line because I'm going to hope that he's then come into the player that we hope and expect him to be and that a team will be taking him at.
Well, this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you guys think about 6 through 15 down below in the comment section.